We once again achieved record results in 2018. That is what Activision CEO Bobby Kotick said before Activision kicked off the process of laying off 8% of its workforce. See, despite having a record year, Activision still missed its expectations. There it is again, the concept of below expectations, which has become such a common phrase in the industry. Because of those lowered expectations for 2019, the company has to consolidate and restructure according to themselves, and therefore almost 800 people are out of a job. This is all despite Activision Blizzard being as successful as it's ever been. Now, I realise we can talk about the economic factors and, the reports that Activision's value has halved after its ridiculous growth spurt over 6 years, going from $10 billion to $60 billion in value. Like that was ever fucking sustainable. And I know of late people have had a bit of a pop at me for talking about unions and criticising the rampant, unchecked late-stage capitalism we're staring into the gaping maw of right now. But all that chuffing said, I defy anyone out there, even if they are massive fans of capitalism, right? Even if they are literal cats that are fat, wearing top hats and monocles and everything, I defy them to look at this situation and not think something's gone terribly wrong. The idea that a company can have its record years and make more money than ever, and is in a position where it must lay off, or at least feel like it must lay off, 800 employees. And that's what it has to do, because that's all part of this system working as it should. That's what I was thinking about when I saw people arguing about this on Twitter, defending Bobby Kotick and Activision, saying, oh, well, it's Bobby Kotick's job to do this. It's Activision's role to do this. This is normal. This happens all the time. Okay, fine. Let's take it on board that that's what they have to do. It's normal and it happens all the time. Fuck all of that. That shouldn't be normal. It shouldn't be normal to be more successful than ever and slash 8% of your workforce, just so that you can cling on to this myth, this fable, this fairy tale that you can keep on growing forever and ever and ever. And I know some people don't want to hear it, but if that video game workforce was more organised, this probably wouldn't be quite so frigging normal. Would it stop everything? No, but it would stop publishers from so routinely, so casually looking at its staff as this fucking expendable. Once again, I remind you that when Satoru Iwata was in charge of Nintendo, when Nintendo was failing to meet its goals, he took on the burden. As a leader, as captain of the ship, he took on the responsibility and slashed his own pay. Rather than slash jobs, he personally stopped taking home quite the large chunk of cash as he had previously. Now again, that won't fix all the problems at the core of this matter, but the actual leader taking the hit for the company not performing as expected is at least a lot more fucking fair, especially when you're in the position of a high-ranking executive who can apparently slash their pay in half and still make more than enough to live off. And when you remember the perks and the bonuses that go to these executives, when you remember how exhaustingly, dizzyingly wealthy some of these people are, these people who are in charge and yet don't suffer from their own failures, these people who are in charge where even if the business tanked tomorrow, they'd get on a little golden parachute and get a high-ranking job at some other company they can fuck up, I don't know how it doesn't make you want to be sick into a little bag. While our financial results for 2018 were the best in our history, we didn't realise our full potential, said Bobby Kotick to investors. To help us reach our full potential, we have made a number of important leadership changes. These changes should enable us to achieve the many opportunities our industry affords us, especially with our powerful owned franchises, our strong commercial capabilities, our direct digital connections to hundreds of millions of players, and our extraordinarily talented employees. Well, that last bit just comes off as passive-aggressive now. Right now, the game industry is in a bit of a roiling mess, a mess it created for itself. Many people saw the way the wind was blowing years ago, and I'm not saying I called it yet again, but I did say that they were very short-sighted, this couldn't go on forever, and a lot of people shouted me down and said no. Not that I'm taking credit for pointing anything out, I was just one of many people who saw it, but as one of the loudest and most annoying, let's be honest, I've been treated like a bit of a Cassandra over many situations. The game industry is once again raking in more money money than ever and is yet at panic stations in many departments. And I say, if it's such a fucked up disaster, if it's such an utter mess that you can make more money than ever and are still roiling, still having tumultuous weeks and having your value slashed, right? If you're in that situation, look to the leaders at the top and fire their asses. Fire Bobby Kotick. Fire Bobby Kotick. He'll be fine. He can go and fall back on his acting career, capitalise on his Moneyball success. But I mean, literally, he would be fine. The people at the top are protected. Even if they fired his ass, he would land on his feet with aplomb. Let me once again remind you, as I have many times in the past, Activision Blizzard doesn't really pay its dues on most of the product it sells because it has an offshore tax haven where they get out of paying a blasphemous amount of money. Just something to remember as people at Activision Blizzard are losing their jobs. The layoffs are reported to have hit Activision Publishing, Blizzard, King, and other studios such as High Moon Studios. Over at Blizzard, the esports team was hit, which I think most people saw coming after the drop of support for Heroes of the Storm, which itself is having a rough time since apparently its Twitch viewership has just plummeted. It's just fallen off the side of a cliff, which is sort of what happens when you gold rush towards an emergent idea in the industry, when you find a new genre or a new outlet, some new gimmick, some new money maker, and you all rush towards it, sometimes too late to the trough, but you still stick your snout in anyway. And so you build up all this excitement, all this community, all this investment in something, and then you just drop support for it because you fucked up. But you won't learn anything because the game industry doesn't learn things, so you will just do the same thing over and over and over again. I've now been covering the game industry for long enough that I have seen this cycle over and over and over again, over and over and over again. A new genre, a new gold rush, a new idea, a new gold rush, a new gimmick, a new gold rush. Some more successful than others, but each one long-term detrimental to the industry because the companies only cared about short-term gains, which according to this fucked up system, they're supposed to do. It's fucked, folks. I've said this for so long. I've been doing so many of these videos and I've often had to just exasperatedly throw my hands up in the air at the end of a video and just say, shit's fucked. And to quote Nier Automata, this cannot continue. And I'm not saying that out of defiance, I'm saying that out of stone cold fact. This literally cannot continue. Not in perpetuity, because Daniel Bryan is right.